right? My name is Paulo Machado, and I'm speaking from Brazil, right? I'm going to, just a second, I'm going to share my screen here with you and see if everything is okay. So I think you can see me on a little screen on the right side, and you see my screen, right? Good, good. So this is the Global Schools Festival. Like I told you, my name is Paulo Machado. I'm from Brazil, and I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for quite a while now. Well, I think it's more than 25 years, between 25 and 30 years as a teacher, materials writer, consultant. And well, I would say I'm a thinker too, right? I like to think about, to be reflective about the things we do in our role in this global community as English teachers. And I hope, and I bet that we all pretty much feel the same way in this sense. Yes, I think if you're here, if you're taking part, in many parts of the world right now, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's evening, sometimes it's night, or for some people, right? So wherever you are, if you're here, of course, you are committed to what you do. And of course, you think what to do is important. So this is why we're here, right, people? And the name of our talk today is Developing Positive Identities to Change the Game. So we're going to be focusing on identity and critical thinking, right? I really hope you enjoy the talk. If you have questions at the end, talk to us, send on the chat. You're probably going to have our email address too. So please feel free, right? This is ours. So let's exchange our experiences. And I hope that the experiences that we share are positive for you all and provide something you can take on with you, take along to your own practices, to what you do in the classroom, right? So this is our agenda for today. First of all, a brief overview of educational policies, which is what we are all immersed in, right? And then we'll talk about competencies, identity, critical thinking, case studies. So we are going to provide some examples, practical examples to exemplify, but ideas to exemplify everything that we have lined up. And then finally, a follow-up where we open for questions and answers, right? So starting with an image here, this image reminds me, when I think about education worldwide, we are invited to say, or we invited to think, there are so many inequities in education, right? Opportunities are different, yes, among places, yes. Opportunities are different among people, yes. Sometimes in the same place, people have different opportunities. Yes, systems of education address different objectives, and this has a historical path. So thinking about all this, many international agencies, namely UNESCO, has come up since the mid-90s, yes, or the beginning of the 90s, with propositions for educational policies all around the globe, right? And basically what they were aiming at an education for global citizenship, yes? And trying to address all these inequities. So in a general sense, at least, people who were being educated all over the world would have kind of the same opportunities to take part in this globalized community, right? And these policies recommended by UNESCO and other international agencies were pretty much based on competencies, right? And namely based on a brilliant and a pivotal document organized by Jacques Delors, right, with the collaboration of many other specialists in education, international and renowned specialists in education. This document, of course, if you haven't read it, I strongly recommend. It's, freely available on the internet for download, Learning the Treasure Within. This is a document. This is the text, the original text that stems many of the national educational policies that we have around the world, which is the case, we can speak for ourselves, right? Which is the case for Brazil. So we had like the so-called Plano Nacional de Educação, the National Plan of Education, which has the force of law. And from the National the Plan of Education, was born the BNCC, which is the National Common Curricular Basis for the design of curricula all over the country, a curricula which is namely and principally based on competencies. So of course, at this point, the question arises, right? What is competency? I'd like you to think about it like for 30 seconds. If you want to put it in the chat, we can. I don't see the chat right now because I'm so focused here. I don't have a chat. I have my presentation on my screen, but certainly Katja and Leo, they're taking your comments. So what is competency, people? Basically, competency is something very practical. It's the application of knowledge. It's the application of skills, the application of our values and our attitudes into our daily life, into the world of work, into our place in this world as a global citizen. So being competent is what? Being able to activate and use the knowledge that you built, right? We build knowledge, correct? We don't transmit knowledge. Yes, knowledge is built in the interaction with ourselves, with our materials, with our peers, with the world. So being competent is to apply and activate and apply that knowledge to face daily life situations, yes, to solve problems in our daily lives. So this is what competence is. Competence or competency, right? They're synonyms. Well, why teach based on competencies, people? This is a good question. So why this world movement for educational policies based on competencies? Because according to our national document over here in Brazil, well, we need to foster transformation of society. That is, we need to change this game and be game changers. We need a society which is increasingly fair. That's the rule of education, right? To foster a society that is increasingly fair, democratic, inclusive, sustainable, and diverse, right? This, according to the BNCC, look, not only national governments have developed systems, yes, based on the development of competencies. Also, different agents across the globe have also, come together in this movement, in this trend, and namely Cambridge University Press is a driving force in this too. So they have developed this Cambridge Life Competencies Framework, which is also, like the name itself says, a framework to underlie and to support all Cambridge materials from now on, yes, based on competencies. And the reasons for this, according to Cambridge University Press, is that we need to work together with people. We need to think creatively and we need to solve problems. So that's why we need to apply knowledge, yes? Analyze sources more critically. We live in the age of misinformation, right? And we need to know how to deal with that. Yes, we need to communicate, and amongst the chaos that we seem to be living in, well, definitely maintain a positive mindset. Yes? So a positive mindset, yes, being positive regarding the future and what the world awaits for our future generations. Well, that's essential when we talk about education, right? Well, very well. So having all this being said, I take a look at this picture and I love this image, to think of it as a metaphor for what we do. Yes, because teaching and learning English has many aspects, and the political, the ethical, and the pedagogical aspects of teaching, they are blended together. They're intertwined. Sometimes it's difficult to tell one from the other because what we do has a whole lot of dimensions, of layers, one after the other. So it is a political act. It is definitely an ethical act. And of course, it is pedagogical, right? Well, when I take both elements that I told you, both policies, I would say like that, or both frameworks, the BNCC in Brazil, you guys probably have your own national curriculum parameters, which are also probably based on competencies. Yes, I myself, I'm sorry, but I don't know the national policies for Ukraine, for Azerbaijan, yes, for Mexico. But I believe that globally, and from what I have seen, all of them at least scratch the surface of dealing with this concept of competencies. Here in Brazil, this is very well defined, as well as in the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework. And when you look at this board, when you, like we are used to do, right? We match the columns, right? Oh, match the columns. This is what we do a lot in our classroom. So when you match the columns there, you see a lot of interfaces that can be made. Of course, this can be personal. Me, myself, I have made some correlations here, for example, between the BNCC and the Cambridge Life Competencies. Look, identify one's place in a world. Identify one's place in a world is a competence for the English teaching in the BNCC in Brazil, and is related in a certain way to critical thinking. Yes, communicate, of course, connect language, culture, and identity in a way is related to critical thinking. Yeah, build repertoires has pretty much to do with learning how to learn and using new technologies. Oh, guys, this is social responsibility, right? Well, from all this, our proposal here is to pick out two important concepts. First one, identity. And the second, critical thinking. Correct? So let me move this. So what is identity? We're going to be discussing a little bit these two concepts now, identity and critical thinking, and thinking reflecting how they relate to each other. Are you ready? What is identity to you guys? 15 seconds for you to think about that difficult question. Why do I drink a sip of water? Got it? Well, identity is the answer to that famous question, right? Who am I? And this question, the answer for this question is involved in three big realms, in three spheres. The first one is self-identity. Self-identity is the sense that I make of myself, who I am in this world, the sea, the way I see and understand the world around me and the way I interact with it. Yes, under my own perspective. So it's the way I relate to the rest of the world. This could be said to be self-identity, right? But then there is the ever-moving and ever-changing social identity, which is our role in society. Yes, our role in society, which changes a lot. For example, our profession, the way the society sees us. So for example, society sees us regarding our profession. Me, myself, for example, along the years, this has changed a lot, right? I started my career as a lawn mower, and then I was a photographer. At 18, I became an English teacher. And after that, I have been so many things that I don't know who I am anymore, right? Well, if I'm in traffic, if I'm on the streets, I'm a driver, but I may be a pedestrian or maybe a biker. Yeah. If I enter a restaurant, I'm a consumer. In the classroom, I'm a teacher, or maybe a student, or maybe both at the same time. So social identity has to do with the way society sees us and the roles we assume in society. And finally, there is cultural identity, yes, which is belonging to a cultural environment, to a cultural realm, to a cultural sphere, right? So your country, your nationality is part of who you are. It's your cultural identity, right? And it's also built in face of the others, correct? So I'm Brazilian because there are Peruvians. Yes? I'm from Sao Paulo because there are people from Rio. Correct? My language, the language I speak. So observe, as we acquire another language, which I don't call foreign language, but another language, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth language, we are like enlarging our cultural identity, yes? We are being able to observe and understand culture from many other different perspectives. This is beautiful, yeah? Social class, the generation you belong to, yes? This is cultural. Your location here, for example, São Paulo is a very big city. Very big city. It's a megalopolis. In Sao Paulo, yes, we have a territory and it's surrounded, the center area is surrounded by two rivers, two big rivers. They surround the center area of Sao Paulo city. And here, well, if you're a dweller in the center, if you're, yes, circled by these rivers, you're seen in a certain way. But if you're from outside, from the outskirts of the river, you're seen another. That's part of your cultural identity. This is so great. We could speak a whole day about this, right? Well, so identity involves the self, the social, and the cultural dimensions, right? Why bring it to class? Why bring this concept to the classroom? Why foster a positive identity within our students? Because it's a standpoint from where students understand and translate the world. Yeah. And they find a sense of belonging if they know who they are. Yes, I build my sense in my identity in face of the others. So I need to know who I am. I need to build, and this needs to be positive. Yes, and teachers and the school system and materials and activities can help and should help students build their positive identity, a great idea, a positive idea about themselves. And of course, this empowers people to focus on what really matters. I can only focus on what matters to me if I know who I am. Look, in this talk, we are very much centered on teenagers, right? This is the center of our talk here. Teenagers need this so much, right? Besides that, like we said in the beginning about all the inequities in societies, among countries, more developed, underdeveloped, developing countries, all the inequities that we have. So it's a way to address these inequities in education. Yes, inequities in terms of gender, inequities in terms of race, of social status. Yes, we need to address that and value the difference. Value, yes, we are only rich in diversity. What about critical thinking? Well, now I recur to the Cambridge Life framework, like competence framework. I recur to that. According to that document that you find online, you easily find online, yes, the Cambridge Life competencies framework. You can search for that. You can have the whole document. You can study it and use it, put it into practice, in your own teaching life. Look, critical thinking, according to that document, is understanding different arguments, analyzing them, and evaluate. So first I understand, then I think about it, I analyze, and then I make sense, I make assessment, I make judgment of those on solid grounds. Why? So I can make decisions. We can solve problems, right? So critical thinking is a mindset that involves thinking reflectively, rationally, and reasonably. Are we good, people? So far, why bring critical thinking to class? You see the logical things? Well, we need to foster the learner's autonomy and bring, the ability to think for themselves. Independence for thinking. Yes, not to think with the mind of others. Increase awareness and empathy by noticing, understanding, managing, and I think it's very important, valuing different perspectives. Valuing different perspectives. We can only be rich in diversity. Yes? So a different opinion, a different approach, a different point of view, a different outlook can only enrich our lives. So let's not only respect, but let's value different perspectives. This, of course, is easier said than done. But this is something we need to think about and start fostering in our classrooms, right? And of course, because we need to oppose this terrible age of misinformation, of fake news that we've been flooded by on social media, yes? And to avoid manipulation and conformity, yes? Because we have been seeing this, it's like a river, yes? It's like a flood all over the world with misinformation, yes? And in an attempt to try to oppress liberty, freedom, diversity. We have been witnessing this all over. And we need to fight that, to oppose that as educators. Yes, if we believe in freedom, if we believe in a more inclusive society, yeah, our students, they need to tell what is fact and what is opinion. Sometimes it's so difficult, even for us, adults and teachers, to tell fact from opinion. Imagine our students. Yes, these forming minds that we're bringing up to the world. Well, guys, thinking about all this, I'm going to have one more sip of water. thinking about all this, Cambridge University Press has brought to life a great new textbook series called Game Changer, right? Aimed originally to the Brazilian and to the Latin American market, right? It's focused on students from 11 to 15 for regular schools, yes? But of course, you can use it in any type of learning environment. There's no problem about that. But originally, it was designed for regular schools, for the school systems in Brazil, right? Well, when we think about this series, which I have had the pleasure to be a part of. Yes, I was in the team. Well, I still am, right? I still am. I consider myself still in the team of conception, production, and putting this into life in schools, right? Well, what we have here from now on, we're going to have some examples of everything that we have said, brought to real life, right? The first example that we have is this one. This is a unit opener, right? It's called A Day in the Life. It's a unit opener for book starter, right? I'm sorry, Leo, if you can talk to me, I'm really sorry, people. I'm just lost about the time here. I have 45 minutes on the screen, but we started this before. So what do I still have? Like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, Leo?
Yes, yes. You still have 10 minutes.
10.
Yeah, and then
right.
We can go to the questions and answers.
Wow, okay. So I'm sorry, people. We have 10 minutes. I'm trying to focus on what's really important here, right? So this is, well, I love this, people. You know, I love to bring this to you because this was done with such care. Yes. When we look at this is a unit opener for A Day in the Life. It's a unit in our course book that addressed the topic of habits, yes, of leisure activities, of daily life, what people do on a daily basis. And we're supposed to be working with the present simple, yes, adverbs of frequency, all this, this train of content. And then we have this unit opener, which brings us a picture of a girl. It's a colorful picture of a girl. And zooming in on her, what we see is a smiling girl looking at the camera. And here, as a unit opener, we're supposed to be doing picture talk, right? So it's the time for us in the class when we start developing the topic. So, we are supposed to be raising awareness about the topic, yes? Bringing in students' previous knowledge, right? So I'm bringing students' previous knowledge so I can make many questions here, and students can ask each other about, well, things like colors, things like materials, about descriptions of body descriptions, of clothing, yes, of materials, even of environmental elements. And then I start going a little, after all this, I start going a little deeper. After students describe the materiality of this text, we dive a little deeper into the image and we start doing some critical thinking. And we start thinking, well, but who is this person? And what is she doing? So she's carrying something on top of her head. And of course, we can do research inside, or the teacher can come up with the information. This girl, she's carrying water. She's a dweller, yes, in the Thar Desert, in the region of Rajasthan. It's a big region between India and Pakistan. I don't know if we have people here from Pakistan or India. Yes. So in this region, in this Thar Desert, young girls, young women, they are the ones that are supposed to fetch water for their communities, for their families. So water is a pivotal element of this girl's life. So she works on a daily basis, walking kilometers as a young girl, going out to fetch water for her family and for her community. Well, but I'm talking about identity, and I'm talking about critical thinking. So what does all of this have to do with the image, with an image like that? Well, like we said, I can only make up my identity in face of others, right? In face of the other. That's how I build up my own identity, when I have a term of comparison. So then we have this little section in the page, which is the think section, and it has basically two questions. One, what is important in this girl's daily routine? So of course, we're supposed to be leading the discussion. There is no right and wrong answer, but probably, yes, if we give them the background, most people are going to say, well, water is central in this girl. Water. She's a 12-year-old girl. And then we ask our students, well, for this girl, fetching water is, the guideline of her daily life. How about for you? What is important in your daily routine? Do you see that? You can do that in your class because you're working routine, but before, all of us have worked with routines in simple present all of our lives. And you say, oh, what do you do in the morning? You wake up, what time do you get up? You go to bed, you have breakfast, you have lunch, you go to school, you study. What is important? What makes your routine? What is the central aspect of your routine? What do you live for? These are teens. So my teen student is having now the opportunity to compare her or his life, probably self-centered, yes, with the life of a girl whose center is in the work around the community. So you see, remember when we talk about cultural identity, social identity, and critical thinking. So the aim here is for our student to think, well, but what am I doing? Do I have any time in my daily life that I share on behalf of the people around me? Me, as a 12-year-old student in Brazil, in Mexico, in Azerbaijan, in Serbia, in Morocco, do I? You see, this is totally cultural. Here in Brazil, our middle-class children, most of them, are the middle-class children, most of them, they're only centered in their, little world over there with their tablets and their homework and their snacks. And we're inviting them to go one step beyond. You know what I mean? This is one example. I love this one. Another one, I'm going to skip this one from Fresh Eye from Singapore. I love this one, but I think we are not going to have time. I'm going to skip this one because there's another one over here. This is a little longer, right? But I promise to finish up. And I'm going to wrap up with this one. Look, this chapter here, this is so interesting, people, because we're so used to stereotypes. So used to stereotypes. So every English book that you open, there's a chapter about celebrities. Tell me if I'm wrong. Yes, of famous people. Wow, heroes, stars. People, these people, they already have the media. They don't need to be in textbooks. Textbooks should provide another side of things. Yes? So this chapter here, I don't remember the number of the chapter, even the level, but it's discussing special people. Special people. So we have an email here. Well, first of all, for us to have an email, for a team to write an email, we need a reason for a team to write an email. But when we start reading this email, soon enough, we understand the reason. Look, it's from me to dad, right? So subject miss you. It's an email, people, written by a teen girl. Look, dear dad, I hope this finds you well. We all miss you a lot. We're safe inside. We are safe inside. Don't worry. Mom is working from home now, and she's cooking better than ever. Grandma is finding her apartment too. She's confined in her apartment too. Well, a connection with reality is not mere coincidence. Let's bring reality to class, people. Bring reality. Look, we are going to start online yoga classes together, me and grandma. But how about you, dad? Sorry, your phone isn't working. Oh, so the phone isn't working. That's why she doesn't text him or send him WhatsApp messages. At least you have her laptop, right? Wow, is your new phone going to arrive soon? See, we're talking about future here, going to future and will for promises. Well, when are you going to come home, dad? I hope you have a vacation after all this. Nurses need to rest too. And your swimming practice, are you going to go back to that? You're a great swimmer, dad. Don't give up. Don't stop. Well, I'm sure about one thing. This pandemic is going to end. And I have so many plans for the future. I'm going to meet my friends every day, plans for the future, I'm going to meet my friends every day, and we are going to go to the mall, yeah, go to the movies, play basketball, so many things. School is still closed, but classes online are okay. I miss my friends, I really want to see them. Meeting online is not the same. Believe it or not, I'm certain about two things. Promises now. I'll be the best student in my class, and I won't say bad things about school ever again. See, this could be considered an authentic text, but it's a didactic text. It's interesting because it's culturally situated, and it's situated in reality. Actually, a reality that we have been all gone through recently, right? Of nurses and doctors. Remember the beginning of the pandemic, nurses and doctors having to be away from their families because the danger of contamination. So they would be in hotels or in small rooms in the hospitals, not going home. Imagine the stress of all that. And this girl, this simple girl, is simply writing to her father an email to ask him how he's doing and to make, to make amends and to make statements and promises for a better future. Dad, I changed my mind. I'm not going to be a professional athlete anymore. This reality changed me. I'm going to be a scientist and help the world find public health problems. Wait and see. And then people, when we go to the think section, right? So we bring reality to class, we bring the outer world to class, and then we ask students to develop on their identity and to think critically about their reality. And now, well, there's a lot of critical thinking here, and now we ask our students to think by saying, look, remember what I talked about celebrities in the beginning of our books being packed with celebrities. There are no celebrities here. There's Katie and her dad. But these are extraordinary people. Yes? Extraordinary times demand extraordinary people. So the question here is, do you think Katie's dad is an extraordinary person? Do you think Katie is an extraordinary person? Why? Or why not? So again, guys, what we're doing is we're fostering the building of positive. Look, Katie is a regular person in a regular place doing regular things. But that's exceptional in the times we're living. It's exceptional to be regular. It's exceptional to be a nurse and be helping people, staying away from home during the pandemic. So we are inviting by simple questions, just by thinking about the context that we are involved. Each one of you is involved in a different perspective and in a different reality. So bring those realities to the classroom. Bring those realities to the classroom and just, work on them, on whatever you have to work on in terms of language development, but work on them, bring in the reality, and inviting students to build positive identities and to think about what's around them and how they can make a stand and from what perspective they're going to translate all the world that is around them. Okay? Why to do all this? To change the game in society. Yes, into a society that is increasingly fair, increasingly democratic, increasingly diverse, increasingly inclusive, and sustainable. I thank you so much, people, for listening to me during this time. And I think we're open for questions.
Thanks, Paulo. Very inspiring session. You're very enthusiastic, and we have lots of good comments on the chat. Thank you, Paulo, for your time. And thanks, everyone, for being with us this afternoon. So we have some questions. We have a question from Roberta Marti. Can we have successful critical thinking with teenagers? Because often they are living in their own world and doesn't care about the outside world.
Yes. This is the challenge. This is what we've been talking about, right? Teenagers, they are so self-centered. Yes. They're so concerned about their own little worlds. Yes. And their little small connections, electronic connections. We need to show them the world and say, look, guy, hey, my dear student, there is more to it. Yes, of course, we need to set examples too, right? We ourselves need to be critical thinkers. Yes, we ourselves need to be mediators in conflicts. Look, conflicts in the classroom are probably the greatest input that we can have. Yeah, teenagers disputing things, fighting for things. Yes, let them dispute. But above all, let's show them how to value different perspectives from ours. I think valuing these different perspectives is probably the greatest lesson we can teach our students. And how do we teach that lesson? By doing it ourselves, right? We can only set examples. Yes, no top-down speeches. That doesn't work. Setting examples. Yes, providing them input. Activities that would make them think about the smallness of certain lines of thought. Yes, that would give them the opportunities to open up their minds and look at the world from different perspectives, right? Learning a language is learn how to translate the world from a different perspective. That's what it is all about, right?
Yeah, Paulo, we have some more questions, and I
Uh-huh.
believe we won't have time enough to answer all of them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
I,
I'll ask a last question from Fernando
okay.
Akisi. So what are
Where's
the
Fernando from? Where is he from, Leo?
Fernando Akisi? It doesn't
Akis.
say here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey,
Maybe.
Fernando, how are you?
So the question is, what are some consequences in teaching when there's no sense or value for identity?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question? What are the consequences for teaching?
In teaching when there's no sense or value for identity.
There's no sense of value for identity. I don't know if I understood the question, but if I
Yeah.
did,
Okay.
if I did, it's like we are on a setting where the development of identity is not valued. Well, I don't know. I think in this case, the answers are very personal. Yes. Sometimes we are settled in environments which understand English as a foreign language, right? So English is the language of hegemonic countries. English is the language of people that I need to learn that culture. Yes, I need to learn the culture of the UK. I need to learn the culture of the United States. At last, I need to learn the culture of Australia, but hegemonic countries, right? So I could have that as a mirror for myself. But we who believe in English as an international language or as a lingua franca, we start thinking that English is not really a foreign language. English is not the language of the other. English is now the language of everybody. So there's no way of not addressing identity in a sense like this. Because some time ago, I was doing a work for Newsweek magazine. It's a world-class magazine, and I had an editorial project with Newsweek. And it was amazing. I read a text. It was an incredible text of girls from Iran who wore the burqa. And we, as Westerns, yes, we see that as an oppression of those girls. But those girls in the magazine, which is an English magazine, it's an American magazine, is written in English. So I was using English to assess cultural diversity because I was reading and writing about Iran. And those girls, they were praising the burqa. They thought that wearing the burqa was something important for them. They felt protected, they felt respected, they felt valued. So sometimes we need to change our perspectives too about the things. We are all in this world immersed in bias. Yes, we are all immersed in our own concepts. So what I think we should do as English teacher is sometimes to undress ourselves from our preconceived ideas of what the world means and all the different nuances that we have in the world. And as English teachers, we have that opportunity. Leo, I really don't know if I answered the question, but this is what came to my mind, right?
Fernando said he's Peruvian, but he lives in Brazil.
All right, Fernando.
Yeah,
I hope I have answered your question, man.
So, Paulo, we don't have more time to keep with the questions. And I would like to thank you very much.
I thank you so much.
Accepting this invitation. And I would like to thank you, all of the ones that joined us this afternoon, evening, or even morning. And
please enjoy the rest of the Global Festival, right? the Global
Yeah,
Schools Festival. There's so much more to come, right?